The brawl the UFC tried to hide. Dillon Danis vs. Khabib's team. What really happened at UFC 322 ***? Sometimes the biggest fight of the night isn't inside the octagon. It's outside of it. And at UFC 322, before a single punch of the main card was thrown, chaos erupted. A chaos the UFC desperately didn't want going viral, but it did, and at the center of the storm, Dillon Danis and Khabib's team. Right as fans were settling into their seats, cameras catching the usual pre-fight energy, everything flipped in seconds, screaming, shoving, security sprinting. And in the middle of it all, Dillon Danis, a man who hasn't fought a single second inside the UFC, somehow managed to spark one of the wildest brawls the promotion has seen in years. Witnesses say it started with nothing more than a heated exchange. A look, a comment, a step too close. But when Danis is involved, things never stay small. The tension exploded into a full-on melee, dragging in names that made this way bigger than a typical backstage scuffle. Because standing across from him wasn't just random fighters. It was members of Abubakar Nurmagomedov and Makhachev's team, including former UFC fighter Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Yes, the same Abubakar who once brawled during the infamous McGregor vs. Khabib UFC 229 fight. The same Abubakar who has a history with Danis. The two have exchanged insults before, but this time they exchanged fists. Security rushed in immediately, forming a wall between the two sides, but not before hands were thrown. You could see Abubakar being yanked away, still shouting, still trying to get back into the fight. Dillon Danis, surrounded by chaos, looked like he was in his element, smiling, yelling, trying to push through the security line like he was ready for round two. Fans in the arena had no idea what was happening. But the UFC did, and they were trying hard to contain it. Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell sprinted into the mess, physically putting himself between fighters and ordering everyone to stand down. When Hunter shows up, you know the UFC considers it serious. But the question everyone is asking now is simple: why did this happen? Was it something said? Was it old beef resurfacing? Or was this just Danis doing what Danis does, creating chaos everywhere he goes? What we do know is this: UFC 322 hadn't even started yet, and the drama had already reached championship-level intensity. And of all the fighters involved, Dillon Danis is the only one who doesn't even have a UFC contract. Yet somehow, he found himself in the middle of another Nurmagomedov family brawl. Whether you love him or hate him, there's one thing that's true. Dillon Danis knows how to make headlines. But this time he might be picked a fight with the most tightly bonded team in MMA, Khabib's crew. And every time those two worlds collide, it turns into a storm the UFC can't control. Was this just the beginning? Or will the UFC step in before something even bigger happens? Stick around, because this story isn't ending here.